Alright, I've been meaning to make a video like this for a while now, so it's analysis time. Today we're talking about ear candy. Hello humans and fellow aliens, I'm Sapadia the Space Bandit. I'm a bass music producer and artist here to help you become a more well-rounded creator by talking about what I've learned and am learning on my own personal journey. Ear candy is a rather under-discussed topic, and I think that's because it's not necessarily musical. And by that I mean it's not melody or harmony or like rhythm or anything like that. It's more of a production thing, and so musicians don't really talk about it, but they should. And knowing about ear candy is a great way to spice up your music. So we're going to be looking at Toppling Tortoise by Orphic and discussing how he uses ear candy to help drive the song forward and keep things interesting. But first we have to know what ear candy is. Ear candy essentially is any element in a piece of music that's only purpose is to create a new experience for the listener. Specifically, it's not creating a new melody or harmony or rhythmic motif, and it is not a main element in the piece of music. Think of ear candy as like a special seasoning. It's not the steak and potatoes or the salt and the pepper even, it's the marinade and the garlic. Stupid analogy, I know. The way I see it, there are two different types of ear candy. There's atmospheric ear candy, which is used to create or change a vibe. This type of ear candy is tucked behind our main elements or pushed back in the mix. Percussive elements tend to fall into this category a lot. These elements are not meant to be consciously noticed or be the center of attention in any way. Then there's what I call in-your-face ear candy, which fill the gaps left by the main elements. Glitches, like we talked about a few weeks ago, can fall into this category. These elements are the center of attention, however fleeting. They pop out at you intentionally and create a juxtaposition to the main elements and a break from the regular flow. I often use ARPs in this way, like in my latest song, Upward. Shameless double plug right there. Ear candy is meant to be enjoyable, hence the name. Hearing atmospheric ear candy for the first time on your 10th listen through is a very gratifying experience. A melodic element popping out at you in the middle of a wasteland of basses is bound to perk you up. Wasteland of Basses. Be a good album name. So first is drop A1. Okay, here's what I can hear. On the 3, there's a percussion sound in the background. It's washed out with reverb, but it's some type of rattler. Then on bar 4, the last snare has a triangle that hits with it. From bar 6 until the end of this phrase, there's a lasery sound effect that turns into a bubbly riser. Under that, you can barely hear an organ with some heavy phaser action going on. It makes it kind of sound like it's underwater. It actually might not even be an organ. The triangle also happens in bar 8 without the snare, and we don't hear the rattler again on the repeat. Okay, let's listen to drop A2. The first thing to notice is the hey sample that hits on the 2 of both bar 1 and bar 5. Then you can hear the guitar strums, which happen on the 4 of both bar 2 and bar 6. The triangle strikes again on the 4 of bar 4, but doesn't on bar 8. Then you might have noticed the bongos that have been introduced. Of course, that organ with the phaser on it rises at the end of the phrase and is longer than in drop A1. Also, this one was so subtle that I thought I might have been hallucinating it, but there is some sort of like funk guitar sound way in the background, even under the bongos, which is creating texture. All right, so drop B1. This section has a change in rhythms. Like I said, this is the next distinct rhythmic section of the drop. So the first thing you hear is that there's an organ strike on the 1 of bar 1, which also hits on the 1 of bar 5. Then you can hear that there's guitar plucks that happen on the 2E count of bars 1, 3, 5, and 7. The most notable ear candy in this section is the plucks, which create a more melodic atmosphere for this half of the drop. Drop B2 keeps the same rhythm and then adds a trumpet melody on top, so we don't really need to listen to it. The only other difference is that it adds in the bongos and the guitar strums in the same spots, just like in drop A2. So we can see that Orphic is using ear candy for a few different purposes. With the plucks and the organ strikes in drop B, the phasery organ riser that sounds like it's underwater, and the lasery bubbly sound effect risers at the end of each phrase, he's creating an atmosphere around the gritty Nero basses that are constituting the main rhythm. The vocal shouts, the guitar strums, the triangle strikes, that rattler thingamabob that I can't really place, they all work to juxtapose the timbre of the basses. The sound quality of them is very different than the basses that are creating the main groove. None of them are bass heavy, they occupy a higher register, and the guitar and triangle have a pure tonality to them. The bongos are a great tool to keep in mind. Orphic is using them here, and the guitar that I'm pretty sure I imagined, primarily to drive the song forward while repeating an otherwise identical section. While these create atmosphere, their main purpose is to give you something new, because your brain craves new information, and if the section just repeated, you might stop paying attention and start thinking about Jessica. 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 Or just change the song or something. This is a great example that not every section needs to be new in order to be interesting. It just has to have enough new elements to keep you interested. And they don't necessarily need to be noticeable. I mean, I didn't even notice the bongos until a teacher pointed them out to me. If I'm not thinking about it, that rattler sound, the vocal shout, they won't even register. Next time you're listening to your favorite track, try and spot some ear candy. If you learned something, let me know in the comments. Like that smash button, subscribe, all that good stuff. Oh, and my track Upward is out on all platforms now, so be sure to go give it a listen. I'll leave the link in the description. All right, peace.